Hello! AFK. It's in the chat. Hello! Welcome to AFK Chat. Assuming... Whoa, I am, like, clipping here. Let me tweak my gain real quick. I apologize. That's a little weird. Test, test, test! Hello! Hello there! There we go. That should be a little bit better. Welcome to AFK Chat. Hope everybody is having a wonderful Tuesday here. Just getting everything together for the show. Tuesdays always end up going hectic for some reason. I thought it would be just like a pretty solid day to stream, a day where, you know, nothing major typically goes on, and pretty much every time I do one of these shows, there's always something bizarre that comes up in the morning that makes getting to this show a little bit more difficult than it otherwise would be. Meanwhile, Fridays, which are typically busy days for streamer news, totally fine. Super strange, super weird. Welcome to AFK Chat, my Tuesdays show where we talk about, you know, a little bit more low-key product coverage or, you know, budget-oriented releases, things like that to help empower and improve your streams and content creation. Today we are talking about budget microphones. Now, overall, I do plan on doing another one of these shows specifically designed around getting the most out of your budget microphones. By the way, let me know how the music volume is. And so I do have a whole dedicated show plan towards kind of like the webcam one, towards getting the best quality out of your budget microphones. But today we're talking about whether you should buy, you know, a specific budget microphone kit or things like that. And we have a couple different things we're going to look at and compare today. And I just realized I did not add one to the Amazon queue. So if you're watching over on YouTube, go ahead. Every single one of you in chat right now, go give me a follow on Amazon. Link is in the video description. And actually, I can probably just paste it here into chat. Go give me a follow over on Amazon. It helps the show out a ton. And I would greatly appreciate it. We are also going to add here this one right here to our kit, and then I will pull it up on the Amazon list for YouTube as well. So if you are watching on YouTube, I also have a link in the description that has the products we're going to be talking about today as we go through this. I also want to add one more to it that I forgot to add, that I kind of added to our queue last minute here. Is this the one that I just added? That doesn't look right. You know what? They're all the same, so frankly, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to add this one. So there's going to be a lot of nuance that we're going to talk about here with regards to the budget microphones, because there's some weird stuff that comes up. By the way, those of you following, thank you so much. Just saw 3 of you follow. If you're worried about your name showing up in the Amazon chat or whatever, you can give yourself a nickname. That was a concern for some people. I don't need to care what your Amazon profile is. I just want to see you popping up in the chat there. Much appreciated. Helps out a lot. This is a regular show we're doing here on Amazon. So today we're looking at the concept behind a $30 microphone kit. And if you've been a follower of the channel, of the YouTube channel for a very long time, you may have seen this video.
This is a microphone test using the Toner
that feels really quiet.
Hooked up by an XLR to 3.5 millimeter cable.
This is a video about a Toner BM700 microphone kit that cost $32, which at the time, back in January of 2017, these kinds of microphone kits were not super common or super popular, or, you know, it was a fairly new idea. This was when there was, you know, a big push for a bunch of more kind of clone-y products being made overseas in China, being released. And this was one of the first ones to really hit the market. I no longer have this specific microphone. I still have the shock mount, weirdly enough, but I don't have the specific microphone. But I did want to go ahead, like, I will include these samples from this particular video. The value that you got for it was fairly decent as an upgrade over a, you know, your built-in laptop microphone or webcam microphone or something like that. But it didn't really compare to the bigger microphones. And part of the reason for this is because while these microphones can't claim to be a condenser microphone, and the bigger BM800 sometimes is, they're actually what's called electret condenser microphones, which are microphones that basically hold a continuous charge within the microphone themselves without requiring phantom power, which is how they can be powered off your 3.5 millimeter mic jack, and things like that. And they're a little bit less higher quality because they're designed to be a smaller capsule that requires less power versus a true condenser microphone, which takes phantom power and doesn't hold a charge within it and things like that. And so these aren't the same things as a proper condenser microphone like an AT2020 or a Lewitt LCT 440 or something like that. And so that's an important distinction with these. That being said, people are quick to point out like that specific microphone in that kit looks like, whoop, wrong scene. There we go. That specific microphone in that kit looks like a microphone from another kit or what have you. And that's because the BM700 and the BM800 line of microphones is a generic microphone design that has no like secure patent or, you know, copyright necessarily or whatever. That's regularly cloned and remanufactured with new labels slapped on them by different companies over in the factories in China. This is a very common thing, and then they sell them on AliExpress and Amazon. So the newer NW700, the Toner BM700, the Aokio AK80 is just a BM800, and there's other BM800 clones. They're all effectively the same microphone. Now, you can get different quality from these in terms of just kind of, I guess, quality control in terms of the build quality, the reliability of it, some electrical concerns because they are being kind of remade in different forms in the different factories. There are going to be some things that fall through the cracks, but ultimately they are effectively the same product. So you're not going to have one BM800 that's like an amazing microphone compared to other BM800s because it just doesn't work that way. They're effectively the same technology included inside. And so that's a distinction that I want to make and why I don't highlight more than one of a specific microphone type, because there's no point in covering like multiple BM700 or BM800 bundles. And so I just wanted to clarify that. And in terms of quality comparisons and stuff, you're mostly going to get the same. Vincent is asking, how do I follow over on Amazon? There should just be a button for it. It doesn't show it to me because I'm logged in, but I assume if you sign in with a different Amazon, yeah, there's a big, if you hover over the video player, here, I'm in incognito mode. If you hover over the video player, there's a plus follow button. Click that, right now, all of you. Doesn't matter what chat you're in. Go there, click that button, right now, do it. Do it now, do it now. So, thank you, got the follow. So, this is the kit that I looked at back in 2017. So that was unfortunately 4 years ago now. Doesn't feel like it. 4 years ago, I was in my second apartment. We had actually only just moved in not too long ago, so there was nothing even on the walls. I didn't even have my server rack yet. Things like that. But, I will follow you everywhere. Thanks, Greg. But at the time, that was considered a unique, like, holy crap, and which is why this video has 1 million views, which is bonkers. This was, you know, a big thing to have happened. Whereas these days, they're a lot more common. And I want to look at one of these as well as compare to some other budget microphone options. Because at the time, the only way you were getting a microphone kit this cheap was by using one of those cheap electric condenser microphones that plugs into your microphone in jack. That one actually came with a USB sound card, but it was terrible. But that was the only way you were getting it. You weren't getting a proper fancy like USB mic or whatever. But these days, I mean, obviously there was the Snowball, but at the time it was still like $60-ish. But these days, we're getting more and more USB microphones that actually only cost around $40 or $50. This is the Razer Siren Mini, for example. This one is currently listed for $50. You can get it for $40 or $35 on regular sales, including Amazon Prime Day recently. And it's a really good value. So is the HyperX SoloCast, which I can't find at the moment, so we're not talking about. I also didn't see it listed on Amazon anyway. And so these are good options to really get some solid sound, but they're just the microphone. This is designed to be like a portable travel microphone, but if I sit it on my desk here and switch to the like overhead cam, that's nowhere near my face. Like, I can't use that. So I have to like hand hold it here, and then that gets awkward, or put it on a mic arm, and then you have to spend more money to get a microphone arm. And the same thing with a lot of these. So the value here is that you can get an entire microphone kit in a big old gray, brown box for $30 now. And that's what I want to look at. Give me just 1 second. Epos colorblind confirmed. Yeah, you know all about that brown-gray colorblind spectrum, right? Snowman saying Amazon has live now. Yes, go follow me. Link in the description. Go, 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 go. Pedro says, glad to be here. Been watching your videos for years now. Wow. Well, thank you. Much appreciated. Someone in the YouTube chat is pointing out that some of their NW700s sound a little more full and warm. That could also be due to better like circuitry inside, having better power like processing. It's the same thing like you get a higher quality headphone amp and your existing headphones can sound a little bit better just if they required a little bit more power, or your your microphones can be improved by a higher quality preamp as well. Same thing. Maddie with the super chat, enjoying nice rainy day with Epos on the screen. Hell yeah. Thank you for the follow, Snowman. All right, so let's get into the kit that we're going to be focusing on today, and I will actually have a whole separate video comparing this kit to one other kit and kind of breaking down this core concept, but I wanted to do this in one of these streams as well. So I'm going to go ahead and switch camera angles here. The one that we are featuring right now is from Innogear, but what's special about this kit as we get it open here is that this includes a USB condenser microphone, like a proper microphone, not a BM700 or BM800 clone. This is a full proper USB microphone. And these used to be like not cheap enough to be made that could be put into these kits. And so I'm really excited to see that these kits these days have these kinds of microphones included. By the way, this is a super secret webcam I can't tell you about, but you will be seeing more of it in the next couple weeks. So in the microphone kit, you get a model. You get a manual. The model number for this Innogear one specifically is SM016. You get a standard fly swatter style pop filter, which is all right. It's not super thick, but it does have 2 layers. So if you keep it at least like 3 inches off the microphone, you're good to go. Just has a basic C-clamp to clamp around your microphone arm, which should work fine. These aren't great. These break over time, but as a starter for a $40 microphone kit, totally fine. It also comes with, so we get the foam out of the way here, it comes with the shock mount. I do realize the angle for this is awkward. I will fix it in future videos. I normally have a camera mounted overhead, but my capture card's broken at the moment. So it comes with a fairly competent shock mount here. This one has quite the number of points at which the effectively rubber band kind of loops through. It does have these solid pieces though, which means that a bit more of the sound might be transmitted through, but it actually screws onto the microphone like a much more expensive model would, which is pretty interesting. And then it comes with a 3/8 to 5/8 inch adapter depending on the threading that your microphone arm produces, which is pretty nice. On top of the pop filter, you also have a windscreen. Now, theoretically, you don't want to use both of these at the same time because the windscreen will actually cut down on the higher frequencies from the microphone, whereas the pop filter will do so, but a little bit less so. But objectively, they're trying to do the same purpose. The windscreen's more for air moving across the mic capsule or your breaths, whereas the pop filter is purely for plosives, But overall, you're going to be using them for the same idea. So stacking them both can sort of get you, better results for plosive prevention, but you're going to lose you're going to get a little bit more muffling by having both of them. You get a fairly long USB cable here. This is USB A to B 2.0, of course. So super classic cable, not USB-C or anything like that. But it's quite flexible and a pretty solid length here. You get a standard C-clamp for the desk. This one, it's worth noting here. Well, if I can get this spun out. I don't know if you can see that. There's no padding on the ring, so if that matters to you, you could scratch up the bottom of your desk and it might slip a little more. on the ring part. It does have some foam padding on the actual clamp that goes on the top of your desk though, and that's kind of what matters more. And then it has a basic locking mechanism for putting the mic arm in the clamp. We have the mic arm itself, which is going to be a super cheap scissor style arm. This has the springs on the outside, so it's going to make some noise, but if you're not moving it too much, it'll be fine on its own. If we get this open, it can mount the microphone from above or below. This has the 3/8 inch tap on it, and then you have the adapter included on the shock mount. And again, it's got those springs on the outside, so if I put it close to my mic, I don't know if you can hear it. Like if you're bumping your desk a whole lot and stuff, you are definitely going to hear these springs. And I will point out, just as a longevity thing, let's switch back to the main cam here. If I can put this, there's a point right here. If I can get the focus to cooperate, there's a point right here where there is a gap in this plastic. Let me try the webcam as well. I just smacked my microphone. That point where there's that gap in that plastic, when you have it in the desk clamp, if you are regularly pushing back on it a lot, this will break over the years. I have had quite a few cheap mic arms that have done this, where if you are bending it toward, like if you're putting a lot of pressure to try to push it back further than it will go, this will bend outward and eventually break. But we're talking after a couple years, or if you're really rough with it, because it's a cheap microphone arm. Most cheap gear are going to not hold up over the years after you do better. But if you're just looking for something to start out, or you plan on leaving it locked in one place, totally fine. You're not going to have issues. And lastly, of course, we have the microphone itself. This is the Innogear SM016. This is a USB condenser stereo microphone. It's got the threaded tap for the shock mount to actually screw on it. USB port in the end. It actually looks pretty nice. You got the cardioid polar pattern little icon here. Yeah, there's a ton of kits that look like this or include similar things. But most of them, like I said, include the BM700, BM800 style microphones and not a USB microphone. So that's what feels special on the surface about this one. So we're going to get everything put together here. Obviously, of course, the shock mount, or the microphone goes in the shock mount, and then you screw this thread on. By the way, if you want your own EposVox desk mat, eposvox.gg/merch. That screws in the shock mount, and then... yeah, that is a pretty hefty shock mount. And I was wrong about these solid pieces here. They connect the top and the bottom so that there's some stability, but they don't connect to the middle piece that the actual microphone arm clamp is mounted to. So they shouldn't make the noise any worse, by the way. So that's actually a good thing. That's a pretty hefty shock mount. And then, of course, you can put the windscreen on or the pop filter. We're going to try the pop filter, see how it goes. I'm going to get the desk clamp mounted on my desk here. By the way, if you're interested in learning more about microphone arms, to mount your microphones to your desk, unscrew the bottom of the mic, show us the circuit board. I don't know if it will let me, but I can try real quick. If you're interested in learning more about microphone arms and which one you should buy if you're looking to upgrade or invest in an expensive microphone arm, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Next week, we are doing a shootout of like 11 different microphone arms. So stay tuned for that. I need a different screwdriver for this. We'll take it apart after we test it. That way, in case I rip something out and break it, we can still test it and see how it sounds first. Just remind me towards the end of the stream, if I haven't done it yet, that we'll do it. Yes, this is different than a BM700 because it's a USB microphone. All right, one last drink. Woo! All right, so then we put the microphone arm in the clamp. Tighten the clamp. Make sure it's real tight on my desk there. All right, this thing does not have a lot of height either. I've been measuring height for a lot of microphone arms recently, and this is definitely a shorter one. All right, and then we attach the shock mount to the microphone arm. Which is always a little difficult to get that angle right the first time, but once you have it on here, you have it on here. Whee! Now this, it's important to note, this microphone does not have a sound card for playback like a lot of the USB mics do these days. So you will not get, you know, a headphone jack on it or anything like that to hear everything. This is purely an input. And then we get our angle right with our shock mount here. I have it mounted from above, pointing down, just easiest to line up the capsule. I am a little bit congested today, so I'm not going to sound perfect, but at least it'll be consistent across all the mic tests. And then, like I said, I am very impressed with this USB cable. It feels much better than expected. I wish they would have included some sort of cable ties or something, since there is no cable routing with this mic arm, but that's fine. There we go. All right, we're going to plug it in the computer and hope it doesn't break everything. I already had all of my other mics plugged in advance so that this wasn't an issue, but not necessarily this one. And if you're watching over on YouTube, go give me a follow over on Amazon. We do this show every Tuesday, other than when I take breaks, at 3 p.m. Eastern. Gives me a huge support for the channel and the show on the whole if you give me a follow on Amazon, and if you purchase anything from what we show in the stream, use the links in the description or on the Amazon page. All right, so we have added the microphone. I'm going to switch to my microphone test scene here, and we're going to see how it sounds. Surprise, the microphone test scene is actually the same as the normal one. I just have other inputs added. All right, we're going to call this my caps lock is on. Innogear. Okay. Whew, that's hot. I need to turn down some gain. I have added the microphone. We are using it right now. I, of course, don't hear anything because I have no loopback, but we are going to open the sound control panel and fix it up here. We are going to add the pop filter as well. We'll do a plosives test and add the pop filter. All right, sound control panel. Here, I can show you what I'm doing. Switch back to main microphone for a minute. There we go. Properties. I should not have showed. There we go. Ooh, we don't have gain? Interesting. Custom. Loudness. The hell does that mean? What does loudness mean? Okay, I'm just not going to check that box because I have no way of knowing what that means. Alright, that's fine. Test, test, test. So I'm just going to keep away from it because it does seem to run pretty hot. Thank you for the super chat, East Coast Mods. Alright, we're going to turn down the levels a tiny bit here. 75. One loudness, please. Alright. Moving on. Alright, we are on the mic test scene. Get rid of my old mic. Test, test. I'm going to go ahead and open up. I guess we will do a demo of how we can make it sound here, but the goal here is to compare it to other $40 options. But I want to be able to hear it for myself, of course. So we're going to have to set this up. Alright, so I'm going to do Adobe Audition here. What headphones are these? These are the Sennheiser HD6XX. Alright, new. Call this Innogear. I know you can't see this, but you don't need to. I'm just setting up Adobe Audition for me to record and hear this myself. Innogear. Yes. Okay. Loudness is probably anti-clipping. I don't know. Test, test, 1, 2. Test, test, 1, 2. Wow, that is really hot. All right, test, test. We're going to play it back. Test, test, 1, 2. Test, test, 1, 2. Wow, that is really hot. Okay, we're going to see if loudness is anti-clipping, actually. Because that clips really easily. Like, I am far from this microphone at this point. So we're going to see if this works. All right. Custom loudness. Okay. I now have loudness enabled. Test, 1, 2. I don't think it made a difference. Test, 1, 2. I don't think it made a difference. Well, I don't think it made it worse, did it? I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I would say with how like sensitive this mic is, you don't need to have it really close to you, so then you don't need the pop filter necessarily. I would put the windscreen on maybe. Again, it will cut down some of your higher frequencies. Let's get all ASMR up in here. All right, test 1 2, test 1 2. Test 1 2. Yeah, I would love to do that, Cujo, but that takes a lot of work that I don't have the capacity to do in this moment. Well, I guess I could. Hold on. We'll make this work. We're gonna do something cool. All right, we're editing the stream live with Epos here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm setting up some text scenes. Unfortunately, if you duplicate a text scene, it copies the text for each one of them. So, all right. So, Innogear SM016. Select color. We're gonna make this a nice little pinkish shade. The issue is I hate that you can't duplicate text sources and edit them. Like, that's such a stupid limitation for OBS. Like, I'm genuinely mad about it. I'm just going to add these text sources here. You are hearing this mic. We are going to do a proper comparison in just a moment, actually. This will be Blue Snowball. We'll just use slightly different colors for these as well. Try to get them roughly in the same place because we have a couple different mics we are comparing here. But for $30, this sounds pretty decent, especially if you manage your levels and your distance a little bit. Copy as duplicate. I swear I did that before and it didn't work. Copy, paste duplicate. All right, so we have Blue Snowball. If I edit Blue Snowball number 2 and drag it. Oh, it's not. This is exactly what I did for my text slides the other day. All right, whatever. Like, I 100% used duplicate because I knew that would be what it was. Whatever. I don't have time to be mad. All right, BM800 and then Razor Siren Mini. Paste duplicate. Razor Siren Mini. Of course, I have to rename them, but... And then one more. Okay, this is what happens when you edit your stream live. Okay, so we are on the Innogear SM016, which is, as Cujo is pointing out in the chat, significantly better than most headset microphones. So for $30, you can spend $30 to get a full mic setup to upgrade your audio compared to a headset, be it if you're chatting in Discord, using voice chat in game, or just doing a basic live stream. This is 100% worth it. But how does it compare to other options is the question. So we'll mess with audio processing afterwards. We're just going to do a basic mic comparison and compare to the different microphones we have available here. So this is the Innogear, and actually I'm going to record these as we go, although the BM700 from the video I don't have the same sample, but I'm going to record these samples as we go so we can play them back to back afterwards. So Innogear SM016, 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. And yes, I turned off my music so that we can do that. So that's how this microphone sounds. We are going to switch to, I'm going to handhold it because we don't have an arm here, But we are going to switch to the Razer Siren Mini. There we go, my bad. I was using visibility instead of this. So you were hearing the Razer Siren Mini. It is currently on my desk. I'm going to hold it up a little bit closer as we get there. I have to change audio devices in Audition in order to do this. Razer Siren Mini. Yep. All right. We just got a massive super chat. Hold up. What? From VCG Construction. I appreciate all of your hard work. Your content has helped me ton. Thanks. Holy crap. Thank you for the massive super chat drop in here. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. Thank you so much. Jesus. All right. So this is the Razer Siren Mini. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky. 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone. 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. So that was the Razer Siren Mini. So this microphone you can of course attach to a microphone arm, including this one with the 3/8 inch to 5/8 inch adapter. However, you are going to have a hard time getting a shock mount around it, both because of the size and the shape and the limited height here. You're going to have a lot of trouble with shock mounting this, so you are still going to get some handling noise in it, although I'm hand holding it now, which makes it a little worse. But this is a microphone that's currently $50, but you can usually get for around $40, but may potentially be a higher upgrade. I'm going to reserve my judgments until we have recorded all of our samples. So now we're using the blue snowball. This should be in the cardioid mode. It's been a while since I've used this ancient microphone. This was one of the first upgrades I ever bought when I did start my YouTube career. I had the black one. I used the blue snowball for a very long time. But these days, I'm not so sure it's worth much. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. Now the blue snowball is currently listed for $40, so that's around the same price. You do get a tripod included with it, which is good enough height-wise for most people, but it does put it on the desk, so if you are a PC gamer, then that keyboard sound, you know, typing and banging on the desk might be a problem. All right, we've got one more budget mic. I do also have the Samson Q2U listed here as an option I just wanted to discuss, but I don't actually have it available to test at this moment. So now you're listening to a BM800. That gain is really low. What? What happened? Turn up the gain. Test, test, test. There we go. That's a little bit better. This is a BM800. This is specifically the Aokio AK80, but it is the same as every other BM800 as far as I can tell, and you can currently get it with the Amazon link I have in the description. They have a full microphone kit just like the Innogear one, with this one specifically for $19. So that's worth noting here. So we're going to make a new audition, BM800. This is a condenser microphone. It did require phantom power in my audio interface, so I believe it's a full condenser, but it may not. I currently have it running into the Audient Evo 4, which is a completely overkill, completely overkill audio interface for this setup. But regardless, let's get our sample going. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky. 7 for the Dwarf Lords in the halls of stone. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne, in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. Don't try to read something from memory while you have chat, while you're reading chat, because that just really throws you off. Someone is saying in chat, however, that the product listing for the Amazon listing of this Innogear kit does include cable straps, so mine appear to have just been left out for some reason. Alright, so here we go. We are going to compare these microphones, and I guess I will just show you the audition window as well as we go. I'm going to switch back to my main microphone just to give you a palate cleanser. And of course, this is my $400 Electro Voice RE20 Black. Run through some post-processing as well, and a high-quality interface. So, mouse clicks are rather loud on the BM800. Yeah, that's because it's a proper condenser microphone that's going to be a little bit more sensitive to those things. However, you can clear that out with the RN noise in Adobe Audition or NVIDIA Broadcast or what have you. So let's compare our samples. Let's start back at the beginning and just go through these. He has it backwards? Has what backwards? I don't have it backwards. If you're talking about the BM800, you talk where it's a side address microphone, you're talking to the side that the text is on. That's the front. Alright, let's listen. If you can't hear this for some reason, do let me know, I guess. Innogear first. Innogear SM016. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. That wasn't terrible. It's a little muddy, but the lower end is actually conveyed fairly decently. It's not super crispy or whatever. It's a little clear. It could use some boost in the high ends. It's not terrible though. Let's compare to the Razer Mini. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. Yeah, I forgot how the Razer sounded like that out of the box. The Razer does sound a little bit more tinny. There's definitely an emphasis on the higher end, whereas there's like none of the lower register of my voice. But for higher end voice, or for you wanting your voice to cut across lower end game sound and music and stuff, that would be totally fine. We could probably get them to match fairly quickly. It sounds good, as Cujo points out, not necessarily for my voice. So a $50 mic versus a $30 mic kit. The $30 mic kit is currently winning, which is quite impressive. The bottom end just isn't there. Let's listen to the Blue Snowball, which is a classic. I would not pay, by the way. I would not pay $40 for a Blue Snowball. You can probably find them on eBay used for much cheaper. Given the fact that it's been $40 for so long, I wouldn't buy it new necessarily. So we're listening to the Blue Snowball next. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. The Blue Snowball just sounds like you're talking through a tin can. I don't know why it has always sounded that way, but it is so hard to work with those weird frequencies. It's not tinny sounding, but that it sounds like there is a can or a plastic container sitting right behind, I guess that would be the shell of the microphone, sitting behind the capsule that you're just like echoing off of. And it just sounds so bad these days. All right, I'm told to hear the BM800. Let's give it a listen. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. You know what? I'm going to give credence to the idea that it could be backwards. That would be completely dumb as hell. But let's try it backwards. BM802. We're making a new file. Let me switch back to my mic test scene. You know what? Let's record into it backwards and see what happens. Oh dear, I'm clipping even more. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne. It's for the Elven Kings under the sky. No way! Oh, that clipped to hell. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. What? What? Why is it labeled backwards? Why is it... It's so sensitive now. Why is it labeled backwards? I'm going to turn down gain in my interface here. Test, 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 test. It's genuinely backwards. It's printed backwards. What in the world? That is still running too hot. 3 rings for the up. 3 rings for the Oven Kings under the sky. That's too quiet. It's so sensitive to gain changes. Just like a tiny bit of gain change changes everything. Three rings for the Oven Kings under the sky. 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone. 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord in its dark throne. That's not how that goes. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. Holy crap. What? What a difference. It clearly, it genuinely was backwards. Three rings for the Oven Kings under the sky. 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone. 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord in its dark throne. That's not how that goes. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. It still doesn't sound great, but you moved into proximity about 12 inches ago. I just recorded that sample at the same proximity I recorded most of the other microphones. So it still doesn't sound great, especially compared to the Innogear kit, but for $18 instead of $30, that might be worth it for some of you who, again, just want a streaming setup. Now, again, which microphone you get, which side needs to face out is going to depend. You know, not everyone is going to need to be labeled out. But that's something. Let's do the Snowball. Let's do the Innogear versus the BM800 again. This is the Innogear. Innogear SM016. 3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky. 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone. 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 3 rings for the Oven Kings under the sky. 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone. 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the Dark Lord in its dark throne. That's not how that goes. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. So, the difference... Ooh, this is wild. Okay, so the Innogear has a lot more warmth and, like, low end to it, but that also comes with some muddiness to it. Whereas the BM800 is a little bit more tinny, but a little bit more crisp out of box. So with a little bit of processing, we can make both of these probably sound pretty good. The Innogear is still going to sound better. So if you're deciding to spend $18 or $29 and you have both to spend, I would say spend $29. But if you want to go as cheap as possible, you could get away with both. We're going to post-process. We got a question from a super chat here. Looking at a Blue Yeti, Yeti X, or Yeti Nano, and what interface? Well, most of those are USB only and don't need an interface. So there's that. I would say neither and get... Actually, how much is the Yeti Nano at the moment? That will determine what my answer is. Hold on. Yeti Nano. Yeti X was all right. So Yeti Nano's about 80 bucks. Yeti X is $214. For that price, I would say get an Elgato Wave. Like, no joke. There is no reason to get a Yeti over the Elgato Wave if you're paying that price anyway. You're going to get a far better microphone and better software. Actually, it's better all around. Okay, so yeah, the Innogear has a lot of warmth and low end presence, but not much in the way of high end, like clarity. Whereas the BM800 has none of that low end warmth or anything like that. So if I can switch to my desktop here, there we go. We're gonna tweak these a little bit. So this is the Innogear. 3 rings. We're gonna come over here, parametric EQ. You can do this with Reaper or the Reaper VST plugins in OBS. We're going to start with the default. We're going to listen as we go here. SM016, 3 rings for the Elven. So we're going to start with a high pass filter to roll off some of that low end. Like we want to keep most of it, but we don't want to keep it under a specific frequency. So we're going to chop off, say, at 55 hertz. Don't even bother with the wave 3. Just get the wave 1. It's like 99 bucks. It's perfect. All right, so we're going to chop off that part of the low end because we don't need it. We're going to start with a couple frequencies here. So what we're going to want to do is start cutting out some of that muddiness, because you can see here in the presentation of how the audio comes out, there is a lot down here, a lot in this chunk, and then not a whole lot playing back over here.
Kings under the sky.
Part of that is my voice as well, of course. You know, this isn't a perfect reading, but all right.
7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men.
So there's a technique in EQing and like trying to figure out how to EQ audio called sweeping, where you just take something to the extreme and then you see how that impacts the audio so that you know what you're actually working with. So if I take this all the way down,
doomed to die, 1 for the dark,
we sound a little more tinny like the BM800. So we can see a lot of that muddiness is actually coming from these frequencies. Whereas with a lot of microphones, I might actually boost it a little bit. We may still cut it here. So we will start with a mids cut as well over here, because that may be where some of the muddiness is. So we're going to take some of this out. See how that sounds?
Lord on his,
and that's making it less clear. So actually our muddiness is really coming by that super like amplified low end response.
Dark throne in the land of Mordor, where the shadows.
So it may actually need a mids boost. I rarely boost mids.
Lie.
Yeah, I rarely boost mids, but this definitely needs it.
Kings under the,
I'm not going to boost it that much, but I'm just seeing how it affects it.
the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne in the land of.
We're going to leave it. We're going to focus on this low end for a minute here. This is not how I usually have to process microphones. But
it's for the elven kings under.
We're going to keep taking down this a little bit.
For the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords.
There we go. We don't want to lose all of our warmth because we liked it.
In their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord.
That sounds significantly more clear. So if we slap a low pass filter on at 15 kilohertz just for background computers, and then we go over here to like 3,000, 4,000 range, get a little bit of a boost. How's that sound?
Under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. Innogear SM016, 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords.
I'm not going to get anything perfect with this, but we can get it to sound a little bit better here.
Kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie.
So we can keep some of those low end frequencies, but cut around the 200, 250 range.
Rings for the elven kings under the.
That's a little bit more clear. What about our mids?
Sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men.
That doesn't sound terrible. Yeah, that dip around 200, 250 really clears it up there. That is where some gnarly frequencies are sitting. And with that high boost, that really cleans it up here.
For the elven kings under the sky.
Like, it still doesn't sound amazing compared to other microphones, and there's a lot more EQ work you could do here. I'm going to save this preset, actually. But that sounds loads better. You still have the pleasant lower end qualities of that microphone, but it's nowhere near as muddy. And then say we slap a basic de-esser on it, and then a single brand compressor, which I just use, -16 dB threshold, 4:1 ratio, apply. We're still really low end, but that should be fine. Let's listen to how this sounds post-process now.
3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie.
After compression, it does get a little bit more muddy, so I would do a little bit more EQ work to clean that up. And some viewers, listeners will prefer more of the high-end emphasis. I'm a low-end emphasis kind of guy. But that sounds pretty good for $30. Ooh, now there's still some background noise here, as you can see in this part. You know, we have a noise floor here. I don't know where it sits. We're looking at minus 40-ish, which is acceptable for sure. But it's there, but you could easily use RN noise in OBS, RTX voice, what have you. Actually, that's a voice. That's a breath. Let's look at the end. That was a breath. Yeah, so you get some of that, like you hear my computers in the background a bit more, but that's easy to cut out. Like that is not abrasive at all. If we have time at the end, we're running close on the end, so we may not have time to do the click test and stuff, but I will have a whole other video coming for that. What were the compression settings? So here are the EQ. By the way, join us on Discord, EposVox. That's not the EQ. Whoops. EposVox.gg or discord.gg/EposVox. I will go post these in the chat now. So this is the parametric EQ, which you can recreate in the Reaper re-EQ settings. Because that's how I do it, and that's how I created the mic preset you're listening to right now for my RE20. I created in Audition here with the parametric, and then I just recreated it in Reaper. But if we go back to the Innogear, that's what that sounds like. I'm posting that in chat here. And then the compression settings and the de-esser that I slapped on, I did not customize at all, so that could have cropped out some of the clarity as well. And these are the compression settings that I used. If you want to screenshot or copy them, I did just post them in the Discord. And we are going to quickly, we have a little bit of time here, try to clean up the BM800 as well. I did post some samples in my review of the Razer Siren Mini and the HyperX SoloCast, cleaning that up. So I already have process samples. By the way, for comparison, the original quality that I reviewed here, let's give that a listen. This is the original BM700 kit that I reviewed.
XLR to 3.5 millimeter cable to the...
Notice how it's picking up a significant amount of just general noise, like background hiss and flutter stuff, almost on the same level as my voice while still being fairly tinny.
Pink microphone input on a desktop computer. This is a test. This is a test. Test. 1, 2, 3. Hello, everyone.
No like low end or warmth at all.
My name's Adam or EposVox, and this is a microphone test. Hello. Now this is without the crystal going. This is a microphone test using the Tonor BM700 hooked up by...
So at the time, I wasn't super great with post-processing. I was still learning, as I always am. You never master this really unless you're a professional, or you go to audio engineering school. But you can hear with this sample that I was able to clean it up, but you still have so many like compression artifacts happening due to just the microphone sounding such garbage. So this is a significant upgrade over what you could get just 3 years ago. And so I am definitely very impressed in that regard.
By an XLR to 3.5 millimeter cable.
Like that makes it more tolerable, but you get so many weird like compression-y sounds.
To the pink microphone input on a desktop computer.
All right, as we wrap up here, let's go ahead and try to make the BM800 sound pretty good real quick. For comparison, this is the raw sample.
3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone.
So it's more clear, but it's got some harsh high-end frequencies and doesn't have any low-end. Hair on point, love the colors. Thank you so much. What's up, Nick? All right, so we're gonna... Let's actually start with the preset we applied to the Innogear, which won't work at all here.
3 rings for the Elven Kings.
Yeah, that just like amplifies the weird harshness in the high ends on this mic. So we're gonna start back like we normally do. High pass filter around 55 hertz, low pass filter around 15 kilohertz. That's fine.
3 rings for the Elven Kings under the sky.
All of this bouncing around is significantly more activity than the Innogear had.
7 for the
All right, so we're going to start with a mids cut because I think that's where some of this crunchiness is coming from. So
dwarf lords in their halls of stone.
if we crank this up,
9 for the mortal men doomed to die.
you can see how it starts to sound like nasally, like hello everybody, and gets that weird, like, sounds like I'm in a box sound. So if we start turning that down.
1 for the dark lord in its dark throne. That's not how that goes. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows
If we turn it down all the way, it sounds like AM radio. But if we turn it down a bit.
3 rings for the elven kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone. 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 1
Sounds quite a bit better. Doesn't sound amazing yet, but we're getting there. So we'll do a low shelf, 125. Check out the 250 hertz range.
kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone. 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the dark lord in its dark throne. That's not how that goes. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone. 9 for the mortal men doomed to die. 1 for the dark lord in its dark throne. That's not how that goes. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone.
Okay, that's super rough, but this sounds much better than how we started.
3 rings for the elven kings under the sky.
Here's the starting place.
3 rings for the elven.
Actually, this is the starting place.
3 rings for the elven kings under the sky. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky. 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone.
So that's a little bit better. For $18, you're still getting fairly decent quality here. I still think that the Innogear is the better value overall. You don't need an audio interface. You don't have to rely on your motherboard's audio inputs. You get USB, direct connect. It's going to be a little bit more stable in that regard. You get a fairly decent microphone here, and you get a full microphone kit. Now, I guess we can do a background noise test real quick because I didn't do any talking while typing tests or anything like that. But and yeah, Cujo's pointing out $30 for this microphone kit, $20 for the Tinvis webcam, and you have a streamer starter kit for $50. You do. You still need a light, but we're going to be doing a whole video on budget video lights as well. So get subscribed for that one and follow on Amazon for that one. But let's go ahead and switch back to the Innogear real quick here just to see how it sounds with typing. There we go. All right, so this is how the Innogear sounds out of box. And actually, if you'd like, we could kind of recreate the post-processing real quick in Reaper. It's not going to be perfect because I have to convert the queue width to the other settings and blah, blah, blah. But if I wanted here real quick, we could totally... No, I'm not going to mess with it. It's about to storm, and I'm running out of time anyway. But let's do a talking while typing test here. So this is the microphone, talking while typing, talking while typing. That's not bad. It could be better, but again, you can get easy filtering stuff. So to end today's stream, we are going to take apart this microphone. Back here real quick and go grab my screwdriver. Someone's saying you can get a BM800 kit for $20. Well, the one we have linked in the description is $18. But I really think if you can afford the slightly higher price of $30, you're getting a much better microphone with this Innogear. So let's go ahead and get this torn apart real quick here, see what we're working with. Let's hope I don't kill it. Yeah, I was very impressed with the background rejection there. All right. I don't know what value this serves to any specific individual, but here is what the very super simplified circuit board of the Innogear microphone looks like. I don't have a macro view here. Actually, it was upside down. Wait, does that say 192 kilohertz? It says KH-USB-RT-192K. I don't know that this actually supports 192 kilohertz, but I will, I guess, post a picture of this in the Discord as well. Wind shift as... With my moving, it's going to be hard to see much, but if you want it, I have posted it in the Discord. So, satisfied your curiosity, and because it came out all in one piece like this, there was no reason, no way to have damaged anything, which I appreciate, because I still want to make a video about this. But there you go. Cool. I see how it screws together. All right. Well, that about wraps up today's stream, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hanging out with me here in AFK Chat. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day / week. You should flip the BM800 to be in the right direction. I'm gonna fight you. It's currently facing the right direction. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in today's episode of AFK Chat. Product links, of course, are in the description below. If you haven't already, go give us a follow over on Amazon. It makes a huge difference towards this show and the channel. They are really making it possible to do some pretty cool stuff with this content. And stay tuned for that microphone arm comparison that I talked about. I had spent a significant amount of money acquiring a wide variety of microphone arms to compare, as well as additional videos about improving your, newbie microphone setups and things like that. Hope you enjoyed. See you later.